Welcome back to episode number 3 of the State of the Titans podcast. I'm your host, Jaden Harper, joined alongside Ian Copey. How are you doing, Ian?
Doing great today.
And what a win for the Phillies last night. They beat the Detroit Tigers. It, I think, probably is the win of the year, defeating them 5-4 in one of the most electric games you will ever see in the regular season at Citizens Bank Park. Coming back from down 3-0, they win 5-4, and the two trade deadline acquisitions really had a big impact in last night's game.
Yeah, I have to tell you that Duran entrance, uh, everybody's seen the video by now. I think it is the single coolest thing I've seen at Citizens Bank Park that did not involve a ball hitting a bat.
Yeah, no, his entrance is absolutely electric. I think it's the best entrance in baseball. And by the time he's done in Philadelphia, which hopefully isn't for a long time, he might have the best entrance of all time. And last night, I don't know if you saw Ryan Helsley made his Mets debut. That looked like a Timu version of Duran's entrance. That
Yeah, I have
he,
to say, along with Duran, I've added the song El Incomprendido. Added that song to my gym playlist. Absolutely electric.
mm,
It's gonna get me going.
and then
Can't
he comes
can't wait to
on the
see
mound and
everything.
throws 102, 105. And he only needed 4 pitches to retire the Detroit Tigers last night.
I mean, yeah, they came out. That was the only inning I was able to watch last night's game, very much so. And yeah, they came out aggressive. I mean, yeah, you have to be a bit of aggressive against a guy like Duran because he's gonna throw you strikes. But hey, when he throws strikes that you can't get good contact on, that's what you need.
Yeah, and the Phillies were able to rally. They didn't. I don't think they hit a home run last night. It was just a lot of soft contact, hard contact, base hits. They played a good game of small ball yesterday against the Tigers, and then when it comes down to it, they got the go ahead run on a close play at first base, and that's how the Phillies took the 5-4 lead. Bryce Harper ended up getting ejected last night on a very, very bad call, but that is not surprising. And what they were able to do last night, I think, shows why they are one of the best teams in baseball.
For sure, the hustle, and I mean, being good at small ball. That's something I wish they've been able to do this year. You saw it last year in the postseason. Their only run production really only came from the home run ball. Now here they are. I want them to be able to string together base hits, get a rally going, get the extra base hits. So yeah, big shout out to Otto Kemp and Nick Castellanos last night. Underrated guys. Did a lot for the win last night. Nick starting off those two rallies with a single. Uh, Sometimes I even judge him for being the guy that's like, is he kind of the reason why we're not that good at small ball? Because he's always coming up these empty base hits or swinging out of the zone in like these RBI situations. But no, last night he came up. He was the leader of a rally, and I'd love to see that.
Yeah, I feel like Nick Castellanos is a little bit underrated and underappreciated by the franchise. Not the franchise, more the fans, because of how big he's been for this team and winning games over these past 3-4 years since he's been in Philadelphia. I was saying this the other day. He's the main reason why the Phillies had any success in 2023. If you remember, Trey Turner he was struggling to begin 2023. Kyle Schwarber wasn't having his best season to begin 2023. No Bryce Harper for the beginning of 2023. So the only guy who really stepped up was Nick Castellanos. He was an all-star, and the Phillies ended up going to the NLCS, and he was a big part of that. And I feel like he's always been the guy. Sometimes he kills rallies, but other times when the Phillies need a rally to get started, he'll be the one to start it.
For sure, I would say that he does obviously have his flaws, and he's a name that like if I believe that they Phillies all of a sudden decide, all right, we need to reload after this year, that I wouldn't mind if they moved on from. Because other than that, like I sometimes think of his locker room presence. I think he's a great teammate, but sometimes you see what he does in interviews. Sometimes you kind of judge like how great of a person he is. And then also again, his lack of approach at the plate is what can sometimes annoy me, and it's probably the reason why towards the end of that NLCS that he got us to went 0 for 22 and was
Mm-hmm.
couldn't nowhere to be seen, and it was incredibly ugly. But yes, he's a guy that I think that he is not absolutely useless to the franchise, and has had some moments. It's not the worst contract ever,
The
but
Phillies
I
have
would
had a
say
lot worse contracts.
for sure.
Yeah, and then like you said, Otto Kemp. I was there on Sunday in New York when he hit that 2 home run game last night. I think he's a guy who should be playing every day from now until Bohm gets back. I feel like he should be playing every day at either at third or in left field. He should be in the lineup every day for the Phillies.
Absolutely. I think he's found himself getting into better grooves at the plate recently. Here, about hitting 250 in his last 20 games. I like Otto Kemp a lot. Great guy. I have my doubts about him coming into his debut. I was thinking, like, all right, is this guy really legit? He came out of nowhere in AAA. His hitting, he was hitting like what 330 and had like 20 home runs. Was it in Lehigh Valley before getting the call up? And I was really questioning like how legit is this guy? Because it's like AAA pitching is it's a lot different than the major leagues.
Hmm.
So, but no, he's come up here. He's put up the good at bats, made good contacts, caught some barrels. I like him as a lineup piece, and hey, I'm interested in seeing his future here.
Yeah, and I think he probably is going to be a guy who's going to make the postseason roster. I think that's what we're looking at right now.
I definitely believe that for sure. I would say I would not sure if I want him in exactly starting postseason games, depending on what the roster situation is by then. But
I would be surprised if he does, considering you'll have Bone back by that point. The outfield situation will be all set up by that point. So I think he's going to be a very valuable bench guy
when I think it comes to
in the
bench guys, I
postseason.
would much rather have Otto Kemp than and as our backup left fielder than Justin Crawford. Just because one has been in the major leagues now for quite a bit.
Mhm.
Justin Crawford, I think the clock is almost run out. To essentially call him up or give him like, yeah, this is where we're going to give you the time now. Because at least like again, how young he is and how inexperienced, putting him on a playoff roster, I'm not willing to do that 23 Rojas. So
Yeah, and I think of Otto Kemp, and age wise, it doesn't really work out. But Matt Starish from that 2008 World Series team, I feel like he could have that type of impact, have the big hit in the postseason. I feel like him and Amundo Sosa could be that type of impact back off the bench in the postseason.
I like the Sosa take it all. This guy always has the situational awareness, and yeah, Mundo Sosa fan favorite for sure.
Hmm.
Yeah, I like Sosa has the playoff experience too. I mean, they've basically used him in other passes for just his defense, but no, I like his bet coming off
Yeah,
the bench postseason. I love that.
but let's talk about the trade deadline that some say the Phillies had really good ones, like I would say that. Others disagree. The Phillies get Johan Duran from the Twins, and they also get Harrison Bader from the Twins. Both had big impacts last night because Bader had that bases loaded, a walk to load the bases, which led to the Phillies scoring more runs. He actually scored the tying run in the seventh inning, and Duran with an electric save. I think the Phillies had a really good deadline, honestly, for what the market looked like and what you look at who didn't get traded. A lot of the top names that were considered to be moved at the deadline didn't get moved, and there's a reason for that. It's because the market was, it wouldn't make sense for the Phillies to make a big move like that, and then they would, pay the price in the back end.
For sure. Um, I would again, I'd give Dave Dombrowski and the Phillies a D around no, not a D, sorry, a B for this deadline here. Of course, you won a bat better than Bader, or at least another bat to go with him. Now, of course, you look at the headlines. Oh, where the hell is Luis Robert? Where the hell is Taylor Ward? The Angels. I have to give a massive like screw you to the Anaheim Angels. All of a sudden deciding to buy, you screwed up the market right there. They had a perfect selling opportunity. They did this years ago, back when they had Otani. They said, nope, even though we're losing record, we're gonna buy this deadline. We're gonna make a push. They came out of the deadline losing like 8 of their first 9 games and didn't even come close to making the playoffs. That is a clown organization for a reason. Please, really upset that they decided, oh no, we're gonna hold on to Taylor Ward and Joe Adell. No,
And that
unnecessary.
happens. That happens almost every year. It feels like where the Angels think they could buy and they never do well and make the playoffs, and that's something that, like you said, is going to hurt them in the long run. Because this was the perfect year to move a guy like Taylor Ward or Joe Adell, or even a guy like Jorge Soler if there was a market for him. Tyler
Yeah,
Anderson, Kenley Jansen. The list goes on and on and on of guys who they could have moved at the deadline, and they decided not to because they think they have a chance to make the playoffs in the American League, which is already kind of stacked. You already have those, I would say, 7 teams that are going to be in the postseason. They could have easily taken a road like Minnesota did and sold off almost everybody and put themselves in a better position for the future. Instead, they waited and decided to, let's try to go in this year, but let's not really try for it this year because getting Luis Garcia and Andrew Chafin isn't going all in to win a World Series or make the postseason. That's just little moves. Those aren't impact moves.
For sure, and they're 5.5 games out of a playoff spot in general. And that last team there is the Seattle Mariners, who did very well at
Mm-hmm.
this deadline, adding position players. The Boston Red Sox, Craig Breeslow, I think caught sleeping behind the wheel a bit there. Uh, Again, Red Sox, they might think they're more of just we have all we need right now. They're just trying to see what they can make out of this current core right now. I think that's the only excuse they have really. Besides that, pretty much a failure of a deadline. The
Mm-hmm.
Blue Jays and Tigers, again, they're up there. I think that's a potential. I'm not sure that's a potential ALCS. I think one of those teams does end up choking for early on. But hey, the American League. I think it's set, and whatever the Angels think they're doing, you're gonna have to give them a massive screw you because you just messed up a lot of the trade market for a lot of buying teams.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, for what the Phillies had to work with, I think they had a very good deadline. I would say I would give them an A for this deadline. They addressed their two needs. They got the closer, and now we have him for 2.5 years. And then they also got an outfielder who his stats this year might not look great, but a lot of fans have been forgetting what Harrison Bader did in that 2022 postseason with the New York Yankees. He was their best hitter that year on a team that featured Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton. Harrison Bader was their best hitter in that postseason. So if he is going to bring that type of production, but he should be playing every day. I think he should be the everyday either left fielder or center fielder. It shouldn't be a platoon where Max Kepler is getting at bats. It really should be more of a this is the lineup, this is how it is. People get off days that they can have off days, but you shouldn't really make moves to have platoon. You didn't trade for a platoon guy. You traded for a guy who's going to be playing every day.
For sure, and I think platooning him doesn't do Harrison Bader any favors either. Trying to get him in a groove at the plate, let's say, especially at his new team. I get the only excuse I'll take for last night, starting Kepler over him, is all right. Now we're gonna get a. They're gonna get all right. Let's get just Harrison Bader acclimated before we start him every day. And I think maybe they're just trying to squeeze the last they can out of Kepler's guaranteed contract for let's say, because I don't think I mean, obviously he's not good. I won't say he's actively hurting the team in a sense, and I think the Phillies are in a spot right now where they can risk a little bit of playing Max Kepler being 62 and 47, top of the division now by half a game, and even what's this? Sorry, let me check the playoff standings here. They're up. Yeah, they're up. Only a game actually in the playoffs because
Over San Diego.
it's such a tight race. Yeah, but they're obviously the third seed with the division lead. So
But
again,
I think Max Kepler's been getting a lot of hate this year for obvious reasons, but when you look at the stats, he's produced the fourth most power on the team this year. He has 11 home runs, which isn't a good thing that's the fourth most on the team, only behind Castellanos, Harper, and Schwarber. So from the left side of the plate, he has produced power, is which what the Phillies need, but everything else is kind of lack.
it has, and I even check like his peripherals, like his expected numbers. It's not. I get they're trying to play, but oh no, he's been swinging the bat well, making better contact. I think it's just gotten to the point where he's not making good enough contact. Like you see, like how many more times are we going to see him fly out to the like get a meat bell down the middle, and he flies out to the warning track, essentially, or
Or
these
not
line drive
even.
base hits. So you're gonna
Can't even get out of the infield.
are they working on the are they working on a swing? Or are we trying to lower these line drives, try to flatten out his swing a bit? I wonder how long it's taking. I think it's to the point. It's August 2nd. I'd give up on that process. And Max Kepler, salutations, buddy. Thank you for your time. I believe no matter even if he does better on another team, I wouldn't regret it because obviously something wasn't working out here.
Mm-hmm. And the
And if
question
we're
is,
not,
I think, is when are they going to do it? I think everybody knows that the Phillies are going to uh, go their separate ways with Max Kepler. The question is, when are they going to do it? Because you look, I was thinking it was going to be yesterday because that lines up with the Josh Harrisons, the Didi Gregoriuses, the Johan Camargos, right? Adubel Herrera's, the moves they've made in these past couple years around the deadline. But this year, he's still on the roster. Are they going to hold on to him until August 15th? That's when Justin Crawford could come up. He would have his rookie status still available for now 2026. So the Phillies would get an extra year of control. Or are they going to get another outfielder or call someone up from AAA? Or is it going to be Johan Rojas taking Max Kepler's spot, which I was very surprised by yesterday? Rojas getting sent down for Bader. I thought that was probably going to be Kepler, honestly.
Yeah, as you said, and I think even with Kepler, the only other option I've seen is Justin Crawford. If you call him up after August 15th, you get to keep another year of his eligibility. So think, oh, okay, then that could be a good reason why to keep him on. I guess for now, then that means all right. You're going to call up Justin Crawford August 15th. I don't even think that's much of. Don't know how good of an idea that is. Just because you're going to give him that little window, you're just trying to do just to give him at bats and platoon him. Let's say I want it to be. I'm fine with the platoon position. I don't want him to be like in a Johan Rojas situation where he's getting maybe 3 at bats a week. No, that's not going to help him develop at all at the plate or help him see pitching. It won't let him get in the groove at all. I don't even think in platooning. I guess if he can get himself some full games in where he's getting 4 at bats consistently, that I can deal with, and he could potentially develop. Other than that, though, it's August. Are you trying to? We're trying to make the playoff push now. I'm not sure what you're trying to do developing minor league hitters that could make their debut next year.
And the thing is, you have him come up, then who sits, right? You already just traded for Harrison Bader. You have Brandon Marsh. You're not going to sit Nick Castellanos. So then who sits, right? And you're going to have a rookie. And Justin Crawford's a very good hitter. I just think if they were going to call him up, they would have done it already. And I think they should just wait until next season to call him up when he could have a certified role, not have questions about his role, be able to play every day so we can, he could develop. He has more time in AAA to develop as a hitter as well. I feel like that would be beneficial for him. Is he major league ready right now? I think so, but I just don't think he's in the right position to be major league ready, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
and I think that's in the position of the organization he's in.
hmm
So let's
But
say
it's not a bad organization to be a part of, considering we're probably going to go to back. We're going to go to back to the postseason, and I feel like this team has what it takes to go to the World Series. I do think this team has what it takes to go to the World Series this year.
overall, I believe any of the teams that come into the playoffs are very much capable of doing it. Because every team, it's about playing your A+ baseball at the right time in October, which you saw the Phillies do for the most part in 2022 and for the latter part of 23. And obviously, I think, all right, this team is going to learn to play. All right, play some peak baseball in this October. That's a rally that like they need a spark that you have to believe in. You don't go into the postseason by all right, we're the best. It's not a quote I've heard from another social media influencer about baseball. It's not always the best team that wins; it's the right team, which is why you see all these wild card Cinderella stories and insanity runs, just because these guys they come out even though they're also a Major League Baseball team that's going to play some A+ baseball at the right time. So I think that's the key to the Phillies here. I don't think that there's no deadline acquisition they could have made. So then, all right, yep, that's the team. We're good now. It still doesn't take away the fact no, you need your guys that you have right now to hit. You need Nick Castellanos to be the guy in the playoffs. You need JT Realmuto to come up and and Bryson Stott and even Brandon Marsh. Hey, be the role player guys that we need in the lineup. Not necessarily the leaders, but they can't be these guys like last year who I think all went almost like hitless through those 4 games against the Mets.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because a lot of people were not happy with the Phillies not getting the another big star like a Steven Kwan or a Eugenio Suarez. But what's to guarantee that they won't fade out in the postseason, right? Because that's the biggest thing. The Philly stars don't show up at one point in the postseason. That's when the Phillies end up getting eliminated. But what's saying they don't show up in the postseason? So you trade most of your future to get a guy that isn't going to show up in the postseason. And then, for especially in a Eugenio Suarez case, he could just leave in the offseason. So you trade major league and minor league talent for a guy who just is going to be here for 2 months. So I think the Phillies, at the deadline, did what they had to do to put themselves in a position without sacrificing their future, but still having the opportunity to win a World Series this year.
For sure. I think there's as you say, like, oh, what if the guys fail? I think it's a gamble you have to take either way. If you want to get yourself in the right position, you need to have at least put the players an experienced bat like Suarez. Again, I think with Luis Robert, I'm seeing so many mixed headlines about when the Phillies try to trade for Luis Robert. I've heard that the White Sox were begging the Phillies to take him, or also that their market was too crazy. I'm not sure what to believe even then. I don't believe it's even how's it would necessarily be Dombrowski's fault if like cause why is Cedric Mullins in New York right now then? If
Exactly.
the Robert market was if people were begging Robert to be taken.
Same with the Dodgers. They would have tried to trade for him too if the market wasn't too crazy.
For sure. So they were trying for Alex Call. I don't believe this was a deadline where you say, "Oh no, Dombrowski sat on his back on his hands and did nothing." No, I think he did everything that he possibly could, and it's that Duran trade, work of art for sure. The Harrison Bader trade. Some people are not happy with the prospects that we gave up for him for that price. I gotta say, I think just as long as his bat, like maybe he can make it. I just hope he makes it worth it.
Well, at
Be
the
the
end of
guy
the
to get
day,
Bader.
parades are better than prospects, right?
For
Prospects
sure,
aren't
for sure.
guaranteed to pan out. You trade for. I rather trade for guys who I know are gonna show up at least that have postseason experience compared to someone like maybe they'll pan out in 2 years, maybe they'll pan out in 3 years, but you're waiting on a window that is closing with this current core because you don't know what the offseason brings. Because there's a lot of people who are having expiring contracts. But also another benefit with Harrison Bader, he has an option for next season. So he could be back in Philadelphia next year. That is definitely a
Again,
potential. So we get him for a year and a half. That is a definite option on the table with Harrison Bader.
yeah, for sure. Again, Bader's another guy. I think even potentially Johan Duran. Maybe he's here for more than 2.5 years, give or give or take. And again, as you pointed out, like with parades over prospects, like Eduardo Tai. I'm sure great talented hitter. The dude's 18 years old. I would not expect him to make his debut till at least maybe 2029, let's say. And I to be concerned about the 2029 season right now in the middle of a playoff window because what in 2029 I think guys like Kyle Schwarber, Nick Castellanos, and Bryce Harper might start getting to their retiring age.
Yeah.
So no, I think they got the priorities straight, and there's other catchers you can develop. Most of them are very much replaceable. Besides a guy like Andrew Painter, who I'm glad that the Phillies decided to make untouchable. So I think the pressure's on him now.
Hmm.
You're our future ace for this organization. That he's going to have to get himself together soon. That's another guy we talked about. Oh, are the Phillies going to bring him up sooner or later? And how are they going to use him? People say, oh, use him in the bullpen. I've heard things like he's a guy that takes like hours to warm up. He's been a starter his whole life. So I'm thinking, how much is he going to be? You sure you want him in the bullpen? Does the bullpen really need him as starting rotation? I don't even think the starting rotation is going to need him with Aaron Nola returning soon.
He had a really good rehab start yesterday in a AAA with 3 innings, no runs, and a couple strikeouts against one of the better AAA teams in baseball in Worcester. So he's back. Luzardo, he had a really good start in Chicago, and then you have Ranger Suarez, who's been playing well and pitching well recently. So in between those three, you add them with Sanchez and Wheeler. There's no holes.
Yeah, for sure. I think that third playoff starter spot that's going to be a decision that's we're not going to have that decided really. I don't think until you get to late September, or obviously Wheeler, Sanchez. Who's that third guy? Is it going to be Ranger? Because who knows? Like you've seen Ranger, his end of the season, he's very capable of sputtering out. But who knows? Maybe that's not the case, and he's still the consistent arm we love to have. Could it be Aaron Nola, where he's rejuvenated and he's back to the playoff self that we love, not the guy that we were suffering through earlier this year. And Jesus Luzardo, I wasn't. I used to be one who wanted to give him the playoff experience. Like, no, I think he's a future playoff starter. But no, I'm all for this idea. Send to the bullpen, especially because you're not going to have Jose Alvarado coming out of the bullpen in the playoffs. I think Jesus Luzardo fills your lefty spot right there.
Mm. I agree 100%. And you have the options to work it out And in my opinion, Andrew Painter doesn't really fit in that vision with everybody you have that can start and that can come out of the bullpen. Because he in the postseason he wouldn't be pitching as a starter. He would only pitch out of the bullpen because at the end of the day, I'd rather have a guy like Aaron Nola who's shown up in the postseason before. He's a postseason performer, right? He's had very good
Yeah,
starts in the postseason. I'd rather have a guy like Zach Wheeler and Christopher Sanchez. We know they're going to be starting in the postseason. I'd rather have a guy like Ranger Suarez if we have to have him start over a guy like Andrew Painter who hasn't even pitched in a major league game yet. So I feel like the Phillies have to wait on Painter. Might not this year. I think that's again a next year move. Him and Crawford, I feel like are next year guys. I don't think they're this year guys. I feel like it'll hurt their development if we bring them in this year.
for sure. At least just put him in a playoff position. That's a lot of pressure you're putting on a guy. I'm not sure how necessary that is.
Yeah. But the Phillies also had a couple series before in between our last two podcasts. The Yankee series, that was a pretty good series win for the Phillies. They dominated those first two games in Yankee Stadium. Kyle Schwarber showed why. I think he's an MVP candidate this year. I think he should be talked about more in the MVP conversation. MLB.com released their poll with the top five. And for some reason, Juan Soto was above Kyle Schwarber, even though he has worse stats this year. But you know why they put him above. Schwarber.
I think this is it's turning into just who sells the most jerseys at this point.
Yeah, but then I think Schwarber at least is a top three guy when it comes to MVP candidacy in this
Yeah,
season because he has the numbers. This is one of the best Phillies hitting seasons of all time. And by the time we're done with this season, we could be talking like he's having a top 10 season in Phillies history. Considering he's at 37 home runs. One of his best months of the year, obviously, he's known for his Junes, but he's had really, really good August as a Philly. So if that's going to kick in over these next couple of weeks, we could talk about. I think 55 home runs is definitely a realistic number for Kyle Schwarber.
that would be magical right there.
And then he's a guy who also shows up in the postseason. So he's gonna get a lot of money this offseason. I think the Phillies are more than prepared to pay him a lot of money this offseason. And if everyone they have to get hot at the right time.
Right.
That's what it matters. Anything they do right now, they're gonna make the playoffs. If they don't get hot at the right time, then it's just gonna be another failure like the last couple of years.
For sure, obviously, and I think I like thinking back to Schwarber being paid this offseason. I like earlier John Middleton was interviewed talking about possible Kyle Schwarber extension, and he had said no, yeah, that's an offseason move. That's something I see. Yeah, it's going to happen in the offseason. That's going to get underway in the offseason. I mean, you see every time it's a home run, everybody's posting, pay the man right now. And yeah, shoot, obviously, I'd love to hand him a contract right now. I think that happens. That extension happens no later than Thanksgiving. And as I said, John Middleton, he had also said, we don't need any motivation. They know who the guy is, how incredible, how important he is to the franchise. So I think, yes, he does stay.
And then people also don't realize what that could do to the clubhouse because if you extend Schwarber, a guy like JT who should be extended, that could, I don't think it would go over the wrong way. But again, you have multiple guys who are on their walk years going into free agency who want to stay with the franchise. If you extend one, the expectation in the clubhouse at least is usually that you're going to extend all. But I really think the Phillies have to make sure they get JT Realmuto back this offseason.
To me, JT Realmuto, at the beginning of the season, I was really questioning how much. All right, do I really want this guy extended? Because I think about how, all right, he was the best catcher in baseball, and then obviously starting off the season, ground balls out of control, and now he's heating up everything. All right, he's shooting out. He's not entirely washed. Still incredible behind the plate. One thing I judge about him with sort of the culture of this team is how much is he being held accountable for? Because I think beginning of the season, like we're our guys really talking to him about that was like not a good approach to have there at the plate, or if he makes a bad throw, is anybody holding him accountable, or are they scared to talk to him? No, because he's JT Realmuto. I'm the most experienced and one of the best catchers in this generation. Are you going to talk to me like that? So that's something I question there, and I would also have no issue if they decided to try to develop Rafael Marchand. Also, because I think Rafael Marchand is just as capable as being of what a Carlos Ruiz was, and that doesn't have to be the best catcher ever. Just can turn himself into a serviceable bat, and then be the guy defensively. So that I think with J.Chiro Muto, they extend him. All right, I'm fine with that, but I would not mind also if they decided to go down the younger path, have a new start at catcher. Because who knows, JT, he's getting old. You don't know how many good years of his prime you have, and we'll be hitting like obviously he's been hitting like 330 in the past 2 months or so. It's a question: all right, is he going to be that consistently in 2 years from now, or is he going to be the guy that all of a sudden no, you can't, you're struggling to hold accountable, and he's not the guy that you want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think if anything, it would be a 2 or 3 year deal with JT. I don't think it's a long deal like this past
Oh
one
no, for
was
sure.
because he's older. Same thing with Kyle Schwarber. I think that's probably a 3 year deal or 4 year deal because when
four
his deal
years.
goes up, I think that's gonna open the door for Bryce Harper to go back to DHing full time because he'll still be under contract after 4 years. So it'll be interesting to
Yes,
see what they decide to do with that whole situation.
I can see that. Yeah, for sure. Is at that point there. For anything else amongst this deadline, by the way, um, Padres. That's I think that is the prime definition of going all in, and really you're risking everything for it. It kind of reminds me of a different sport. The 2021 Los Angeles Rams.
Hmm.
They went all in. They sacrificed a lot of draft picks and a lot of money, and they were able to get the job done in the end. So I got to give them credit for that. So the Padres, if they think they got a core that's going to work here, I'm all for them. I wouldn't mind rooting for them if they're the last team standing above the Phillies.
See, I don't think they have it in them though to really do it. They're a good team, but I don't think they're a team that could win. I don't think there's it's a 6 team race in the National League right now. There's 6 teams that are going to be in the postseason. Once Cincinnati gets really hot, the 6 teams are going to be in the postseason. It's the Padres, Mets, Cubs, Phillies, Dodgers, Brewers. I don't know if the Padres are better than half of those teams going into October because they haven't really shown up in October in the past. Can they make a run? Yes. Do I think they'll make a run? No. I don't think they're good enough to make a run.
Again, I think it's just how at that point it's just how the cards fall. Who plays their best baseball at the time, and obviously even in playoff baseball, you're going to get lucky sometimes. So it's whatever the ball gods believe too.
That's what it comes down to. Ooh,
For sure, for
the
sure.
Phillies lineup has just come out for today. We're playing with Tigers again. Skubal on the mound. Bader is going to hit sixth. He's going to hit sixth in his first start with the Phillies.
Ooh, all right.
Weston Wilson is playing left field.
And
He's
it's
hitting
not Otto
ninth.
Kemp. Oh wait, no,
Otto
is Otto
Kemp
Kemp
is
at third
playing
base?
third. He's going to bat seventh, and Mundo is batting eighth and playing second base.
I like that because I don't believe Stott as a lefty is going to have much of a chance against Skubal. So
And what a pitching matchup we have today.
for sure,
Skubal against Wheeler.
I hope this is a scoreless game going into the eighth inning, and both these guys just do some peak pitching here.
This is probably one of the best pitching matchups, starting pitching matchups, not in the All Star game in a long time. Because
I think yeah.
this is probably the two. Well, it should have been last year the two Cy Young winners, honestly, and maybe it is this year. You never know what Wheeler does in the last couple weeks of the season.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah, you're right. This could be Cy Young versus Cy Young. I wish I could get to watch this game, but I'm so ready for this game. Be like a 2 hours or a little over 2.5 hours, and boom, neck and neck. All of a sudden, it's a battle of the bullpens. After again, this could be some peak baseball today.
Every fan, no matter what team, should try to tune in. But I think we're going to wrap it up here for the third episode of the podcast. Make sure to like and subscribe. Leave comments below. Uh, Follow us on all of our accounts. We'll see you probably next week for episode number 4.
Number 4 out be after another 5 games.
Yep. And hopefully the Phillies can take care of business, finish the series win against the Tigers, and take care of business against the Orioles.
The end of this towards the end of this American League stretch. So let's do it.
Yep. Alrighty. Well, thank you guys, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thank you guys. See you.